Why don't you just die already, pauper boy? You don't belong here. The words echoed in Toby's head like thunder. He stood quietly by his locker, hands trembling. Sweat dripped down the back of his neck, even though the hallway was freezing cold. His lips parted, but no words came out. The air around him felt thick, heavy, like shame had a weight. A crowd of students had circled around him again, like wolves smelling weakness. Darren, the worst of them all, grinned wickedly, his sharp cheekbones cutting through his pale skin like a blade. His designer shoes sparkled. His leather jacket alone probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. He shoved Toby's books onto the floor with a cruel laugh. Oops. Everyone laughed. Toby bent to pick them up slowly, carefully hiding the tears that threatened to fall. He had learned to stay quiet. His father told him not to make noise. Stay humble, son. No one must know who you are. Not yet. Toby wanted to scream every time he heard that, because this wasn't just any school. This was Crown Heights International Academy, the most expensive, prestigious school in the UK. The kind of place where students arrived in limousines, wore watches worth thousands, and flew to Milan just for haircuts. And somehow in all that wealth, they believed Toby was the poorest boy in school. No one knew that his father, Gregory Whitmore, the billionaire tech tycoon, owned the entire school. No one knew that these boys, these proud bullies, had fathers who worked under his father's company, chasing bonuses and begging for promotions. But the truth was locked behind Toby's silence, a silence that was eating him alive. The black boy among white lions. Toby was 16, Nigerian, and smart. Not just book smart, but people smart. He read the room better than anyone else. He knew when someone was about to strike. He knew how to step aside before a punch landed. He knew how to laugh when his spirit wanted to cry. He had learned survival. Because here, being different meant being hunted. He was the only black boy in the entire Year 11 class. And it didn't help that his school shoes had a tiny scratch, or that he didn't carry the latest iPhone, or that he didn't talk much, or that he once wore a jumper that looked too plain for Crown Heights standard. One mistake, and they branded him charity case. What's it like being the school's mascot? Did they give you a scholarship out of pity? Your dad must be a cleaner, right? It was never ending. The teachers saw it. They said nothing, because the children of the rich couldn't be challenged. Toby carried the weight of his silence like a cross. A note he never wrote. One day, a crumpled note fell out of his locker. He opened it quietly. Go back to your jungle. You don't belong here. It had no name, but he recognized Darren's handwriting instantly. His fists tightened. For the first time, he wanted to fight back. He wanted to tell them who he was. He wanted to scream that this school, these walls, even the chair Darren sat on, belonged to his father. But again, he heard his father's voice from that phone call last month. You're there to learn character, not to feed ego. Don't reveal the truth, not yet. You'll understand one day. But Toby didn't understand. How could he understand when he walked into school every day with fear in his stomach and fire in his heart? Stand up for yourself, bro. There was only one student who ever spoke to him like a human. Jaden, a quiet boy with Indian roots who liked to draw comics in class. Jaden had been bullied once too, for being weird, for stuttering, for not dressing like a prince. Jaden sat with Toby at lunch sometimes, and today was one of those rare days. I don't get it, Jaden whispered as he forked cold rice into his mouth. Why do you let them treat you like this? You could report Darren. Or, he leaned in, or punch him in the throat. Toby almost laughed. Almost. I can't, he said softly. I'm not supposed to make noise. Jaden looked confused. Why? What kind of rule is that? Toby gave a tired smile. It's complicated. Jaden looked at him with quiet curiosity. You're not normal, are you? Toby froze. Jaden chuckled, not unkindly. I mean, you're too calm. It's like you know something none of us do. Toby didn't reply, because Jaden wasn't wrong. He knew too much. He knew secrets that could burn this school to the ground. Almost exposed. The pressure broke during drama class. Mrs. Maple had asked each student to perform a monologue about who they really were inside. Darren went first. He bragged about his father's 4 companies, private jets, and his legacy. Then it was Toby's turn. He stood on the stage, staring into the eyes of his enemies. His breath shook. His heart pounded. "Who am I?" he began. "I'm the silence you ignore. The truth you think you understand. The shadow of someone you could never imagine." Darren rolled his eyes. "Get off the stage, beggar boy." Laughter. Something snapped in Toby. He stepped forward, his voice rising. "You think you know me, but none of you do. You call me poor, but I've seen wealth you'll never taste. You insult me, but I've been raised to lead people like you. You sit in a school built by the hands of someone you spit on." "Toby," a sharp voice cut through the room. It was Mr. Lewis, the vice principal. "Enough. Get off the stage." Toby froze. He had gone too far. Everyone stared. For a moment, it felt like time itself held its breath. Then, slowly he stepped down, face blank, shoulders heavy, but eyes burning. Whispers began. By the end of the week, rumors began spreading. "Did you hear what Toby said? What did he mean by school built by the hands of someone you spit on? You think he's connected to someone powerful?" The whispers grew louder. But just as one of the teachers began to secretly investigate, Toby disappeared for 3 days. Everyone assumed he was suspended, but only one person knew the truth. Jaden. He had seen Toby enter a black car that waited near the school gate. A Rolls-Royce Phantom, driven by a man in a navy blue suit. Jaden's jaw dropped. He knew that car. It belonged to Gregory Whitmore, the same man who gave scholarships to the school, the same man whose portrait hung in the school hall, the same man whose company employed half the fathers in Crown Heights. Jaden's heart raced. Who exactly was Toby? Part 2. He's not who we think he is. You don't belong here, pauper. Even the janitor dresses better than you. Darren's voice echoed through the hallway like poison. Toby stood there, frozen. His hands gripped the straps of his backpack tightly. The other students laughed, some with their mouths, some with their eyes. Again. It was happening again. Another morning. Another insult. And still, he said nothing. Because Toby had learned, silence was safer. But that silence, it was beginning to crack. A watchful eye. From behind a row of lockers, Jaden watched everything. He wasn't laughing. He never did. Jaden was different, quiet, smart, always drawing things in his sketchbook when no one was looking. And ever since the drama class incident last week, where Toby almost exploded with truth, Jaden couldn't stop thinking about him. There was something about Toby that didn't make sense. Why would someone like him, calm, smart, confident, let people like Darren walk all over him? Why did he never fight back? Why did he always walk away? Missing. On Monday morning, Toby didn't come to school. He wasn't there Tuesday either. By Wednesday, people were talking. Did he finally get kicked out? Maybe he went back to Nigeria. Maybe his fake scholarship ended. Darren laughed the loudest. Good riddance. But Jaden didn't laugh. Because he saw something no one else did. He had passed the school gate late Monday afternoon. That's when he saw a black Rolls-Royce parked near the school. A tall man in a suit opened the door for a boy wearing a hoodie. It was Toby. Jaden couldn't believe his eyes. Toby didn't just leave school. He was picked up in a car worth more than most people's homes. Why? The project. Toby returned on Thursday. Quiet as always. But something was different. He walked slower, looked heavier, like something big was sitting on his shoulders. Mr. Adams, their English teacher, announced a new assignment. You'll work in groups to present a speech on what makes a great leader. Darren groaned. Do we get to pick our groups? No, Mr. Adams smiled. Darren, you'll work with Jaden and Toby. The class burst into quiet giggles. Darren looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. This is a joke, right? No joke, the teacher replied. It's time to work with people outside your circle. Trouble brews. Their group met in the library. Darren sat with his arms crossed, throwing lazy comments. I'll do the talking. You two just bring the slides, or whatever. Toby didn't respond. Jaden did. That's not how it works. We all have to contribute. Darren snorted. Please. I don't take advice from people who shop at charity stores. Jaden clenched his fists but stayed calm. Then Darren turned to Toby. And you, do you even know what a leader is? Or are you just hoping to follow the rest of your life? Toby looked up. For a split second, something flashed in his eyes. A kind of fire, like lightning behind clouds. I know more than you think, he said quietly. Darren laughed. Right. Keep dreaming. The note. Later that day, Jaden found a note stuffed into his locker. It was from Toby. Meet me behind the science lab, after class. Alone. Jaden's heart skipped. He went. Toby was already there, sitting on a bench, staring at the sky. I saw you looking at me Monday, Toby said without turning. Jaden nodded. You left in a car, a really expensive one. Toby finally looked at him. His eyes were tired. Sometimes things aren't what they seem. Jaden paused. Who are you, really? Toby didn't answer. He just stood. You'll know. One day. Then he walked away, leaving Jaden more confused than ever. Temptation to reveal. On Friday, something almost broke. Darren, angry about being corrected during their project rehearsal, cornered Toby near the gym. You think you're smart now, don't you? Just because Mr. Adams liked your part of the speech? Newsflash, no one cares about you. Toby didn't flinch. I didn't say anything, he replied. That's the problem, Darren sneered. You never say anything. You just walk around like you're better than us. Then Darren grabbed the front of Toby's shirt. Say something, Popper boy. Let's see what happens. And in that moment, Toby almost spoke the truth. His lips parted. He was done. He was ready to tell him who he really was. But just then, the gym door opened. Mr. Adams walked in. Everything all right here? Darren let go quickly. Yes, sir. Just talking. Mr. Adams looked at Toby, who stayed silent. Toby nodded. Just talking. A storm is coming. Jaden watched from the hallway window as Toby walked alone toward the field. He looked like he was carrying 1,000 secrets in his backpack. Jaden turned to his sketch pad. He began to draw. Not a superhero, not a villain, just a boy. A boy wearing a crown no one could see. And as he sketched, one thought haunted his mind. He's not who we think he is, and one day, this school will find out too late. Part 3. The crown he refused to wear. You know what's funny? Darren said, leaning against Toby's locker with a fake smile. Even when you walk like a king, people still see a beggar. Toby didn't answer. He opened his locker slowly, ignoring the Snickers behind him. His books were gone. In their place was a moldy sandwich and a crumpled note. Stay in your lane. Toby took the note, crushed it in his fist, and said nothing. But his silence was louder than a scream. Jaden's frustration. Jaden was getting angry. Not at Toby. At himself. He knew something. Something he wasn't supposed to know. Something that could change everything if he said it out loud. But Toby's words kept replaying in his mind. Sometimes things aren't what they seem. Jaden hadn't told anyone about the car, or the note, or the photo he found online. He didn't want to betray Toby. But the more he stayed quiet, the more the bullying got worse. And he was tired of pretending not to care. The speech day. Their class had to present their group speech on what makes a great leader in front of the whole school. Darren showed up in a new suit. Jaden showed up nervous. And Toby? He came in the same plain hoodie. No smile. No fear. As they stepped on stage, the room buzzed with whispers. People expected Darren to lead, as usual. But Mr. Adams walked over and whispered something to him. No talking today, Darren. Let's hear from someone else. Darren's eyes flared. What? Let Toby lead. The room went silent. Everyone stared. Jaden almost choked. Toby? Led? Even Toby looked confused. Mr. Adams nodded. You've been quiet for too long. Say something. Toby stepped forward. He held the paper in his hand, but didn't read from it. He looked out at the crowd, at the same students who called him Popper, Charity Case, Ghost. And then he spoke. Toby's speech. I've been silent. Every day. While people talked over me, laughed at me, made jokes like I wasn't human. He paused. But I learned something. You don't need to be loud to be a leader. Sometimes, real leaders watch. They wait. They carry pain without showing it. They let people believe lies until truth speaks for itself. The room was still. Even Darren stopped moving. Toby's voice didn't shake. In this school, people think being rich makes you a leader. Or being loud. Or being feared. He looked straight at Darren. But real power doesn't bully people. It lifts them, even if no one claps. He stepped back. No music. No lights. Just silence. And then, a single clap. From Jaden. Then another. And another. Until the whole room clapped. Even some teachers stood. But Darren? He sat still. Hands tight. Jaw clenched. He had never felt so small. Seeds of doubt. That evening, Darren sat in his father's office, pacing. Something's not right about that boy. His father didn't look up from his laptop. He's just another scholarship student. Why do you care? Darren frowned. I've seen that look before, that confidence. He walks like he knows something we don't. His father sighed. Drop it, Darren. But Darren didn't. He opened his phone and stared again at the photo he secretly took. The one he found weeks ago in the library on Jaden's laptop. A picture of Toby at a luxury tech event. Smiling. Shaking hands with someone important. He zoomed in. There was again. That same man in the Rolls Royce. And something else. A logo. The same logo hanging in his dad's office. The same logo on all the school papers. Whitmore Group. Darren's eyes narrowed. A strange invitation. The next week, something strange happened. Toby received a letter in his locker. No name. No sender. Just a sentence. You don't have to hide anymore. Come to room 3C after school. He stared at the note for a long time. Was it a trap? Or something else? Jaden noticed the worry on his face during lunch. You okay? Toby nodded slowly. I will be. Room 3C. After school, Toby walked down the quiet hallway. He stopped at room 3C, an old classroom barely used. He opened the door slowly. Jaden was there. Alone. I left the note, Jaden said. I had to talk to you. Toby didn't move. Jaden stood up. I know you've been hiding something. And I'm not mad. I just want to understand. Toby's jaw tightened. I didn't ask you to dig. I didn't mean to, Jaden replied softly. But you're not like the rest of us. And I think someone like you has a reason for staying quiet. Toby didn't answer. Jaden looked down. I just want you to know, whatever it is, you're not alone. The room was quiet. Then softly Toby spoke. There's a war going on, but not the kind you see with guns. This war is silent, between who you are and who the world allows you to be. Jaden nodded slowly. Then he said something that surprised them both. Whatever war it is, I'm on your side. Storm clouds. As they walked out of the building together, neither of them saw Darren standing in the shadows, watching, smiling to himself, because he had a plan, and in his hands was something dangerous. Not a weapon, but something just as sharp. The truth. Part 4. The fire behind his eyes. Do you know what scares me? Jaden whispered. It's not Toby's silence anymore. It's what's hiding behind it. Whispers in the halls. Since the day of the speech, the school had changed. Not completely, but enough. Some students started nodding at Toby when he passed. A few even tried saying hi. But the laughter hadn't stopped. The rumors hadn't died. They just got quieter. More poisonous. Maybe he's a spy. He probably steals school food. I heard he sleeps in the janitor's closet. Toby didn't react. But Jaden saw it. That slight clench of his jaw. That flicker in his eyes. Like someone holding back a storm. Darren's trap. Darren wasn't done. He had done his research. He had watched. He had waited. Now it was time to move. He called a secret meeting in the school's media room. Just a few students. His closest crew. He held up a USB drive. I've got something, he said, grinning. And when I show it, no one will look at Toby the same again. One of the boys leaned forward. What's on it? Darren's smile grew wider. Proof that he's a liar. That he's not who he says he is. And that this school's been protecting him. They all looked at each other. Are you sure? I'm more than sure, Darren said. We've all been bowing to a fake. Jaden's discovery. Jaden had stayed back in class to return a library book. On the way, he heard voices from the media room. He pressed his ear to the door. What he heard made his chest tighten. He didn't catch everything, just words like USB, expose, and assembly. He knew what was coming. He ran. The confrontation. Jaden found Toby sitting on the football field bench, staring into the distance as rain began to fall. Toby, he said, breathless. They're planning something. Darren has something on a USB. He wants to show it in assembly tomorrow. Toby didn't even look up. I know. Jaden blinked. What? I heard him. I saw him. I knew he'd dig until he found something. Jaden knelt beside him. So, you're not going to stop him? Toby finally turned. His eyes were sharp. Clear. Still. I'm tired of running. Jaden's heart pounded. But they'll know. Everything. Toby didn't blink. Let them. The assembly. The next morning, the whole school gathered in the auditorium. Mr. Adams was on stage, adjusting the mic. Darren sat in the front row, smiling like he'd already won. In his pocket, the USB, he raised his hand. "Sir, may I say something before we begin?" Mr. Adams nodded. "Make it brief." Darren stood up and walked to the stage. "I have something important to share with the school," he said. "Something the students deserve to know." Jaden sat up straight. Toby didn't move. Darren held up the USB. But then the projector screen flickered. Everyone turned. Static. Then darkness. Then, "We apologize. Technical difficulties," came the voice from the booth. Mr. Adams frowned. Darren turned, shocked. No, wait." But the tech team shook their heads. "System's down. You'll have to reschedule." Darren's face burned red. He stormed off the stage, clutching the useless drive. In the crowd, Jaden exhaled deeply. But when he looked at Toby wasn't smiling. He was watching Darren, like a lion watching someone play with fire. Aftermath. Later that day, Darren found Toby alone behind the art room. "You think you're safe, don't you?" he hissed. Toby stared at him, calm. "I think you're scared." Darren shoved him. "Who do you think you are?" Toby didn't move. But this time, he spoke. "I am the shadow you never saw coming. I am everything you fear, not because I'm dangerous, but because you can't control me." Darren stepped back, startled. "You're hiding something," he whispered. "But I'll rip it out of you." Toby's voice dropped low. "Be careful, Darren. You might not like what you find." Mr. Adams' warning. After school, Mr. Adams called Toby into his office. The teacher looked tired, his eyes filled with worry. "Whatever this is, Toby, whatever you're holding inside, I hope you know you don't have to carry it alone." Toby stared at the floor. "I've carried it for 16 years. I can carry it a little longer." Mr. Adams sighed. "But at what cost?" Toby looked up. "The truth is like thunder," he said. "It waits, but when it speaks, it shakes the sky." Cracks in the wall. Jaden went home that evening, heart racing. He sat in his room, looking at a sketch pad. He turned to the page he'd drawn weeks ago. Toby, sitting on a throne, wearing a crown made of fire and silence. He added something new today, a crack in the crown, because the truth was getting heavier. The silence was breaking, and the boy they thought they knew was almost ready to speak. "All right, here's part 5, the grand finale. The truth will finally be revealed, but not just as a twist, as a punch to the heart. Everything has been building up to this. The bullying, the silence, the clues, the near reveals. Now we tear the curtain off. Still written in clear, simple English, but packed with emotions, power, and meaning. Get ready. Part 5. The boy who carried a throne. He let them mock him. He let them shame him. But the one thing he never let go of was the reason why. The final straw. It started with laughter. Cruel, loud, fake. Toby entered the locker room after gym. His clothes were soaked. Not with sweat, with toilet water. Someone had dumped his uniform in the toilet and hung it back on his locker. The smell burned his nose. Laughter echoed around him. Jaden rushed in. But Toby was frozen. His face still. His fists clenched. Then he spoke. "Who did this?" The room went quiet. Darren stepped forward, smirking. "We just thought you needed a little bath, since you're too broke to afford one." Jaden grabbed Toby's arm. "Let's go. It's not worth it." Toby didn't move. His eyes locked on Darren. "You want me to break, don't you?" Darren smiled wider. "It's about time." Toby took a deep breath, and then he let go. The revelation. Toby walked straight to the principal's office. He didn't knock. He walked in. Mr. Whitmore, the school owner, was there, speaking with the principal. They turned, surprised. "Dad," Toby said. The word hit like thunder. Jaden, who followed behind, gasped. Mr. Whitmore slowly stood. The principal dropped his pen. "Son," Mr. Whitmore said softly. "Are you ready?" Toby nodded. Mr. Whitmore turned to the principal. "Call the entire school to the auditorium. I have an announcement to make." The truth is a lion. The auditorium filled fast. Everyone was whispering. Why was the school owner here? Why was Toby standing beside him? Mr. Whitmore stepped forward. "My name is Charles Whitmore. I own this school, along with several companies across the country." He paused. "Many of your fathers work for me. Some of my businesses. Some in this very school. The students went quiet. Darren looked like he had swallowed fire. Mr. Whitmore continued. I've hidden something from all of you. From this school. From this city. He placed his hand on Toby's shoulder. This boy, the one many of you have insulted, mocked, bullied, is my son. Gasps filled the room. Toby stared forward, eyes strong. He was enrolled here under a hidden identity because I wanted him to learn what power really means. He looked around the room. Not the kind of power that comes from money, but from strength, humility, self-control, and the courage to walk through fire without using privilege to escape it. The auditorium was dead silent. Mr. Whitmore's voice deepened. Many of you walk through this school thinking you're powerful. But real power is how you treat people when you think they have nothing. He turned to Darren. Especially people like my son. Darren's fall. Darren stood up slowly, face pale. I didn't know, he stammered. Mr. Whitmore looked at him. You didn't need to know. You just needed to be kind. The words sliced deep. Darren sat down, speechless. Toby's voice. Now it was Toby's turn. He stepped forward, looking at everyone. Some of you thought I was weak because I was quiet. Poor because I didn't wear designer shoes. Trash because I didn't speak back. He looked straight at the bullies. You laughed, pushed, lied, but I let it happen. Not because I was scared. He held up his head. But because I had a mission. He scanned the crowd. I needed to know how far people would go when they thought someone couldn't fight back. He turned to Jaden. And I also found out who's real when the world goes silent. Jaden's eyes filled with tears. Toby smiled. Lessons that burn. Mr. Whitmore stepped up again. To those of you who acted with cruelty, there will be consequences. He paused. But more importantly, I hope this moment teaches you something you will never forget. Character matters more than wealth. He took his son's hand. And to my son, I'm proud of you. You carried silence like a crown. The next day, the halls were quiet. No laughter behind Toby's back. No whispers in the corners. Some students avoided eye contact. Some walked up and apologized. Jaden walked beside Toby as always, but now they both stood taller. Darren? He sat alone. The throne he thought he had? Gone. Toby never needed one, because the crown was always on his head. He just chose not to wear it. Until now. When you know who you are, Toby said one day, you don't need to prove it every time someone doubts you. You just wait. And when the time is right, you let the truth roar.